Considering all the success you've had personally as a coach, what's the hardest part about dealing with 4 losses? I mean, you lost 4 in a row. What's the hardest part? What keeps you up at night?
Yeah, I'm not so sure this isn't one of the 2 or 3 worst years I've had to go through. I've had years with more losses, hopefully, than this. But they were, as I've said before, they were all expected. It was not a, when we went 2-9 at Illinois, when we went 2-9 at William and Mary, when we went 1-10 at Colorado. They were all. We weren't thinking that we were going to be like Lock Haven. Lock Haven is not thinking that they're going to win 8 games. And those are hard because nobody likes losing. But when you're at Lock Haven and when you're at Colorado in a 1-10 season, or you're at Northwestern or wherever you are, every week we're going to get one shot. But when you're those environments, and so it sometimes becomes enjoyable just to, you can do some things that are kind of crazy, and you work on kids just getting better and that sort of thing. But when you come into a season thinking that you're going to challenge for a title, and now all of a sudden you're 3-4, it's really hard. And like Bernie McGowan said when he came in Sunday, he said, I just can't help but take this personal. And I think that's with each of us. It's, Bernie's saying, what can I do to make those defensive ends better, play better than they did on Saturday? And Mike Campolo said the same thing. He talked about truthfulness. And he just said, hey, truthfully, I don't think I've done as good a job with the offensive line as I've needed to do. Now, he said he's got 2 freshmen playing for him and all that, but each of us feels the burden of not performing as well as we'd hoped. But I think it's harder when you have higher expectations, and then you lose somebody the magnitude of Andrew Krewatch, who could have helped you. And if I had had the good 20/20 hindsight and foresight and played Pat in the Mercyhurst game and the Slippery Rock game, he'd be farther ahead. We would probably be farther ahead. But that's the way it's played out, and I think our coaches are excited to finish this out and see where we are, and I think our players are. And so it's disappointing, and yet there's that positive to us that we want to go on and improve.
How excited are you about your running backs, though? That real good game last week.
Oh yeah, I think there's a great future there with those guys, and we got one that's redshirting now. If he does all the right things academically, he's special. I mean, we'll have 3 running backs next year that can play, and so there are some good things, but right now there's some freshmen that we don't want to play just to have them have 4 or 5 games, and so we'll continue to try and redshirt those guys. That Nick Carnicella, I'd hate to have to play. He may have to, but I would hate to have him play. Mike Scott, one of our freshman wide receivers, he's going to be a real good player. James Johnson the same way. So yeah, there's some good things there, but I'm pleased with their attitude and their effort right now.
Is the strategy with Tuck and Robinson, let Robinson pretty much run his way through the 20s, and when you get inside the red zone, let Tuck bash his way the rest of the way pretty much?
No, I think it's more, we would really prefer, if we're in charge of the game, if we're in control of the game, we'd like to have 40 runs, and we'd like to have Tobias to have 25 of them, and Tuck have the rest. Now, You know, we could actually hear the Edinburgh coaches through the wall when Tuck came into the game, and they were yelling inside zone, you know, because they see him just as an inside runner.
Yeah.
But he ran the inside zone, he ran the power, he ran the outside zone and made good yards. I mean, he's not just an inside runner, but he has a style that I think people really enjoy seeing. He's just so hard-nosed.
Going back to the defensive changes you made, and you just said you're not going to play players just to get them some playing time. Are some of those, the defensive changes, is that just because of injuries, or is that just to see what you have for next year?
Well, no. We wanted to play the best four on the defensive line, and right now Carlos Jeter has really played well. And so we just felt he was one of our best four, and so we decided to start him at a defensive end. Nate George is one of those guys that you could put at any one of those four spots, and he'll play well. But Nate George is one of our four best, so that's what precipitated that change. Obviously, the injuries precipitated the other changes primarily, and.
How do you keep the players from tanking? Just, you know, knowing that, like you said, you had high expectations.
I think they follow the staff. I really do. I think, and the seniors. I mean, the seniors. This is important too, because they've had 3 really good years here, and they will end it on a positive note, not a negative note. But I told the players they could expect the coaches to be enthusiastic. They could expect the coaches to be just as detailed and demanding about this game plan as any that we had, and that we weren't letting up on anything from study hall to tag program to lifting. You know, everything's going as scheduled, and the demands are just the same. So
I guess usually when you play Lockhaven, it's an expected, you know, easy win. Does that the feel this time around? Because you lost 4 straight and you just want to get the win no matter what?
You know, right now we're looking at Lockhaven like a giant. I mean, we gotta spend the same time on them as anybody and attend to the same details. Last year, at halftime, the score was 7-7 against the same Lockhaven team, and so, you know, they'll play hard against us. And the thing I do say about them is that you have a difficult time getting them out of position on defense. They play essentially one front, and they play a couple coverages. And if you're going to beat them, it's got to be physically. They're not going to be out of position because of what you do. They're not going to try to overload you with the front, and you go the other way and have an easy run, or give you a lot of blitzes and you can hit something for a home run. They're going to make you bleed all the way down the field. That's their goal. And offensively, it's pretty much the same. They'd like to control the game with a short passing game and just dink and dunk you.